Welcome in to Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, a very interesting report from Jeremy Fowler that I had to break down. I don't care that it's my off day. I was playing some Marvel Rivals. I saw the report come on my phone, and I was like, yeah, I gotta talk about this. So that's another reason why you gotta hit that subscribe button. Whenever news happens, we break it down here on the channel. No matter when, no matter where, I got you covered. Texans Today, the #1 Texans channel here on YouTube. Well, let's get right into the news. Jeremy Fowler reporting early this morning that there is some traction, some steam behind the Texans possibly signing free agent running back Nick Chubb, saying that there is now more than a little bit of mutual interest between the two parties around the Texans front office and Nick Chubb's camp around a deal getting done for the former Pro Bowl running back. And this comes off the heels of, OTAs where we were thinking, oh, Dameon Pierce is going to take the, brunt load of the snaps. I know it's just OTAs, it's just practices, but, reps are reps, being able to get a little bit better, especially with a new offensive coordinator in Nick Caley. Have not seen Dameon Pierce. He's been out due to injury, other circumstances. He has not been playing, or he has not been out there at practice. Joe Mixon, he's been, dealing with some nagging injuries from the season, got a little bit of work done to kind of help out in some of those areas. He has not been practicing. So it's been like Jawar Jordan, Woody Marks among other running backs taking the snaps. But there has been a legitimate concern about who takes the snaps if Joe Mixon gets injured. Who is the RB2? Who is the backup plan? Because Dameon Pierce has been underwhelming the past 2 years after a really good rookie campaign. And then, you're dealing with a lot of uncertainty behind that. Gumbo Wale is more of a special teams kind of situational back. He's not a, getting 20 carries during a game type of running back. Nick Chubb does bring that value. He brings a lot of experience and at one point was regarded as one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the entire National Football League. Now, to kind of backtrack, we've talked about Nick Chubb multiple times on the show before, but he was on the track to greatness. He was one of the better running backs in the NFL before a gruesome knee injury took him out in 2023. He only played 2 games that season, but the year prior, right, he had 1,525 rushing yards on the season. Played all 17 games. The year before that, only played in 14 games. He had almost 1,300 yards. He had 1,259 yards. And the year before that, over 1,000. The year before that, almost 1,500 as well. So he was a workhorse before that awful injury in 2023, that gruesome knee injury. And then last year was on track to maybe being one of the, comeback players of the year, but had a foot injury that took him out and another season-ending injury. So back-to-back seasons with season-ending injuries for Nick Chubb. A little bit of a cause for concern and probably the reason why he's still, a free agent. He's not signed yet because he is a fantastic running back. And I think for the Texans, it fits perfectly with what they have right now. They already have a workhorse back in Joe Mixon. They don't need somebody who needs to come in and, contribute immediately and be a guy who gets, 20 carries a game. No, Nick Chubb can be the backup. He can, be a maybe goal line back, a, third and short kind of back. He's a very powerful running back. And I think, this could help him ease back into it where he's not in a role where he has to be the focal point of the offense, a main, piece of how the offense is going to work. But I think having him behind Joe Mixon, that gives me a lot of, confidence in this Texans offense. If anything were to happen to Mixon during the season, you don't have to rush him back. You don't have to worry that, we need Mixon back or, the offense is going to sputter. I don't think you have that really with Nick Chubb. I think he can step in immediately and be a, RB1 for you if you need throughout parts of the season. And it allows, rookie Woody Marks to maybe ingratiate himself more and be more of a focal point in the passing game rather than being the, RB2 behind Joe Mixon. I mentioned Dameon Pierce earlier. Does this mean we see a Dameon Pierce trade eventually, or does he just get outright cut this offseason? It's been a huge question mark. He's been a name that's been floating around Texans Twitter of, will this guy get traded? Will this guy get moved on from? Because, we as Texans fans, we kind of hold on to these players and we're like, dude, I really want him to break through, because you see it. You see it in Dameon Pierce. You're like, dude, he is so close to being a really good running back in this league. We saw it his rookie season where he had almost 1,000 yards. And then year after that, it was him and Devin Singletary, and it didn't really show, right? It didn't look good. Last year, he had that amazing run against New England. Besides that, nothing really, right? So it's been, 2 straight years of kind of disappointment for Dameon Pierce, and I bet you he would probably tell you the same, in that he feels like he can play much better and he can be a bigger role in an offense than he's been over the past 2 seasons for the Houston Texans. So I'm really excited to see whether or not the Texans follow through and finally sign Nick Chubb. I think this is a guy, maybe they don't sign him immediately, but maybe like right before training camp, adding him in to kind of learn in this Nick Caley offense, kind of learn it a little bit and get ready for the season. I'm pretty pumped for this move. Now, in terms of the biggest needs, personally, I think the Texans still need to go out and find a cornerback 3 to replace Ronald Darby. I know they, drafted Jalen Smith in round 3 out of USC. He can be a surprisingly good rookie this season for the Texans. But they signed Ronald Darby for a reason, right? The secondary depth last year was a main point of concern for the defense. One of the only really concerns for the defense was the secondary depth, and they went ahead and made a couple moves this offseason. They traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson as well, and they went to sign Ronald Darby, and then he obviously retired a couple weeks back. I made a video the other day, and I still think the Texans should try to pursue one of these names, like Asante Samuel Jr., a Rasul Douglas, a Levi Wallace, maybe somebody who can sign a 1-year, 2-year contract maybe, and just be a backup and a good depth piece behind Lassiter and Stingley. And then, depending on the offensive line play, I mean, it seems like they feel comfortable with all the additions they've had this offseason, even though there hasn't been anything really, I would say, a splashy offensive line move. But keep your eyes out. There's been a lot of links to Brandon Scherf, the former Jacksonville Jaguars guard, and, maybe they do feel the need to sign an interior offensive lineman at some point to fill one of those guard spots. But I do feel that Laken Tomlinson and Titus Howard are kind of manning those guard spots. And then the center position is going to be Scruggs, Jake Andrews, or Jared Patterson. Left tackle Cam Robinson, Ariante Ursery. Right tackle Blake Fisher or Ursery as well. I do think, it's a good signing. I like the signing. There are some other needs that I would like the Texans to address in free agency. But especially if you're able to get him on a cheap contract, like a 1-year, $3 or $4 million deal. Yeah, I mean, there's really no downside to that. Like, you're a minimal investment in a guy who, like I said, just 2 years back was considered a top 5 running back in the league. Had over 1,500 yards, right? He was fantastic for the Cleveland Browns. He was incredible. So if you could get a guy like that to not totally revitalize his career, but I mean, give you a semblance of that in the backfield, like, that'd be incredible. That'd be awesome if we could get that out of Nick Chubb. Like, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns in 2022. He had over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2021. And in 2020, he had over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Only 12 games that season, but still. He finds the end zone, and also the other big thing is that, he's able to push the pile and get first downs. And on 3rd and short situations, you need that, because we saw, look what the Eagles do with the tush push, right? They basically make it where it's, 1st and 8, because if it's within 2 yards, they're going to get that first down. I'm not saying Nick Chubb's going to be as good as the tush push, but if you can have a guy like that come in and be a short yardage specialist for you, okay, like I said, he had 69 first down runs in 2022. If you're in a 3rd and short situation, even if you just put him in as a decoy, that helps Stroud out tremendously, because something that he did really well his rookie season and did not do much of last year, play action. Stroud did not do nearly as much play action, was not, as successful with their play action attempts last year than the year prior. And if you can have a legit running threat like Nick Chubb on a 3rd and short, maybe even a 2nd and short, and give Stroud the option to play action boot, find Nico Collins deep, I love that for this offense. I absolutely love that for this offense. Now, I've kind of rambled on enough about this Nick Chubb signing. Let me know down in the comment section if you made it to the end of the video, your thoughts. Should the Texans sign Nick Chubb? Do you think they should sign somebody else? And, what do you think the contract should be? I think maybe 1 year, $4 million for Nick Chubb is the sweet spot for me. But give me all your thoughts down in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. Like I said, off day, so I just decided, you know what? Saw the news, gotta talk about it. But made it to the end of the video as well, make sure you hit that sub button. Free Texans videos all year long. I'll be bringing you more content throughout the rest of this week, so make sure you have your notifications on. Make sure you're subbed for the latest Texans news and rumors.